so get this right. Big potential shakeup brewing in Hollywood, like a real game changer. We're talking about Skydance, the folks behind, massive hits like Top Gun, Maverick, and the Mission Impossible movies, the whole franchise, making a play to buy Paramount Global, the whole thing. And the guy driving this?
Yeah.
David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison, the Oracle co-founder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, we're talking serious money and tech connections here. I've got research, articles, my note, the whole 9 yards. Let's really unpack this.
Yeah, let's dive in. What's fascinating here, right, is that it doesn't seem like he just wants to, absorb Paramount, just another studio under his belt.
Right.
He's talking about something totally new, a tech-media hybrid.
Ooh, catchy.
His words. So it's not just churning out movies anymore. It's about using tech to, revolutionize how we even think about entertainment.
Ambitious, right. But how do you actually do that? I mean, turn a classic studio into this futuristic, tech media powerhouse. What does that even look like?
Well, from what I've seen, Ellison's got a few core things he's laser focused on. First, he wants to completely revamp Paramount Plus Pay.
Okay, their streaming platform.
Exactly. Make it a real rival to those streaming giants, Netflix, Disney Plus Pay. You know the players.
Right.
Then there's attracting the top talent, the best writers, directors, actors, everybody. You got to have those A-listers to create those most-watched shows.
Makes sense, yeah.
But then, this is where it gets really interesting. There's the AI angle.
AI. Okay, so we're not just talking about, using AI to suggest what to watch next, but actually using it to make the movies and shows themselves better.
That's exactly it. Picture this. An AI analyzes a script for the new mission. Impossible. It flags that Ethan Hunt's motivation for accepting the mission isn't clear enough.
Interesting.
Could lead to a rewrite, adds more depth, makes the story even more, gripping.
Wow, okay, so AI is like a creative consultant now.
In a way, yeah. But where does Oracle fit in? I mean, is this where the family connection comes in?
Right. The Ellison family ties to Oracle.
Exactly. Imagine Paramount gets direct access to Oracle's, top-tier cloud infrastructure. That means they could potentially create a completely virtual production environment. Directors could film scenes, even the ones with crazy CGI, in real time.
Oh, I see. So instead of relying on green screens and post-production wizardry, they're creating these incredible visuals on the fly.
Yeah, potentially. Which could cut costs, opens up creative possibilities, gives them an edge in terms of just sheer production quality. And it's not just the cloud, right? Oracle's expertise in AI and machine learning, that's huge.
So Paramount could tap into that to personalize the content recommendations on Paramount Plus, say? Like you log in and it's like they know you better than you know yourself. You never even think about canceling your subscription.
Precisely. But it's even bigger than that. AI could help target ads with pinpoint accuracy. Automate tasks like dubbing and translation for different countries, different languages.
Yeah.
They could even use it to, get this, predict how successful a movie will be before it even comes out.
Yeah.
We're talking about using data to make smarter decisions at every level.
Okay, this is starting to sound less like Hollywood and more like, Silicon Valley.
It is blurring the lines for sure.
But can this really give Paramount a competitive advantage over giants like, Disney, Amazon, Netflix? They're already spending billions on tech, right?
Right, but they all have different approaches.
Okay.
Disney, they have a mix of internal systems and cloud providers. Amazon, obviously, they lean heavily on Amazon Web Services, their own thing. And Netflix, they're also deeply tied to AWS. So Paramount potentially going all in with Oracle. That's a bold move, a different game altogether.
It's like they're betting on a single tech horse, right?
Yeah, kind of.
When the others are spreading their bets around, interesting strategy. But the big question is, will it pay off?
Exactly. And to answer that, we really need to dig into the potential benefits and the risks of this Oracle partnership. We need to look at all sides of the coin.
For sure. But we can't forget the financial side either, right? Could partnering with Oracle help Paramount save money? Become more efficient?
Oh, absolutely. That's a real possibility. Imagine streamlining operations, reducing overhead. By consolidating all their systems under one vendor, a powerhouse like Oracle, they could see some serious cost savings. And that's a major advantage, especially as the streaming wars get more intense and margins get thinner and thinner.
Okay, so it's starting to sound like this could be a real game changer.
Yeah.
But there are downsides too, right? I mean, putting all your eggs in one basket, that's always risky.
Of course. Over-reliance on a single vendor, that can lead to what's called vendor lock-in.
Okay.
Which basically means you become dependent on them, lose negotiating power down the line. It's a tricky balancing act.
And, we haven't even touched on potential culture clashes.
Oh, right.
Merging two huge companies.
Yeah.
That's never easy. And then there's the regulatory hurdles they might face. This is getting complicated.
Yeah, no doubt. We've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore. The regulatory landscape, potential culture clashes, the financial risks, and, of course, the whole AI ethics thing, using AI in creative decisions. That's a big one.
Ooh, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But you've definitely got me hooked. What happens when a Hollywood giant decides to embrace cutting-edge tech? Let's keep digging.
Agreed. It's a fascinating case study.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, not just for Paramount, but for the whole entertainment industry. We were talking about, the good and the bad with Paramount and Oracle teaming up.
Right, the potential and the risks.
Exactly. But before any of that can even happen, there's a big hurdle they got to clear.
Oh, right, the regulators. We can't forget about them.
Nope. You got to sign off on this whole thing. It's not a done deal just yet.
So what are they going to be looking at? What are the big things regulators scrutinize when it comes to a merger like this?
Well, their top priority is always going to be making sure there's fair competition.
Right. Okay.
They don't want to create some kind of mega corporation, a media behemoth that can just crush the competition and limit choices for us, the consumers.
Makes sense. So they'll be looking at how much of the market a combined Skydance Paramount would control.
Yeah, exactly. Market share is a big one. And they'll also be analyzing, what this means for independent producers and distributors.
Oh, right. The little guys.
Yeah. They don't want to see a scenario where this mega studio just squeezes them out completely, right?
Yeah.
Because loud competition usually means less diversity in the content we get to watch.
It's a good point. We often think of competition as lower prices, but in this case, it's also about making sure there's a healthy ecosystem for different stories, different voices to be heard.
Exactly. A healthy media landscape needs variety. And that's something regulators are very aware of. They'll be looking closely at the streaming landscape, too, which is already, a total battleground.
Right. Speaking of streaming, that's where things get really interesting. I remember a while back, there were those concerns about Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Because they own a studio, Amazon Studios, and they have this massive streaming platform, Amazon Prime Video. There was this worry that they might, give preferential treatment to their own stuff.
Right. Favor their own content over everybody else's.
Exactly. Could we see the same concerns with a Skydance Paramount hooked up with Oracle?
It's a valid point, and I'm sure regulators will be asking those questions, will they give Paramount Plus content an unfair advantage on CBS?
Oh, yeah, because they own CBS, too.
Exactly. And that could limit what cable viewers get to see. Less choice, less diversity.
So how much power do regulators actually have? I mean, could they actually kill this whole merger?
Absolutely. These reviews can take forever, and it's not uncommon for them to, demand concessions from the companies. Sometimes they say, nope, not happening, if they think it's bad for the market, bad for consumers.
Yeah. So even if everything else goes smoothly, David Ellison and his team could still hit a wall with the regulators.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. And even if they get the green light from the regulators, there are other potential stumbling blocks.
We talked about culture clashes a bit.
Right.
But, how could those actually play out? What are some concrete examples?
Well, just think about how decisions get made. Paramount, they're a legacy studio, more traditional hierarchy.
Yeah.
Skydance, they're known for being more agile, less bureaucratic.
Right, a different vibe.
Totally. And those approaches can clash, when you're trying to decide which projects to greenlight, how to manage budgets, all that.
And then there are the employees. You're merging two whole workforces. That's a lot of different personalities, different expectations, different ways of doing things.
Right. And that can lead to, tension, uncertainty, lower morale, you name it.
Reading through all this stuff, one thing that struck me was that there's so much focus on the tech, the financials, all that.
Right.
But what about the creative side? I mean, is there a risk that with all this talk about data and efficiency, we forget about good old-fashioned storytelling?
Oh, that's a huge point. And I think it's a valid concern. If we rely too much on algorithms and data, we could end up with a very formulaic approach to content.
Yeah, like paint-by-numbers filmmaking.
Exactly. No one wants to watch that. And that's the real challenge for David Ellison. He has to find a way to balance the power of data with that human element of creativity.
Because at the end of the day, people want to be entertained. They want to feel something. You can have all the fancy tech in the world, but if the stories aren't good, people will tune out.
Completely agree. And this brings us back to the question of whether Paramount is actually undervalued. Does all this potential, this tech advancement, the efficiency, does it outweigh all the risks and the complexities we've been talking about?
Right. So let's dive into that. I mean, they've got this amazing library of classic movies and TV shows, a huge network like CBS. Is there something there that Wall Street is just missing?
There are some compelling arguments there, for sure. Let's explore them further.
So we've been kind of dissecting this whole Paramount Skydance thing, and yeah, it's complicated. Tech, money, creative worries, the government watchdogs. But let's circle back to the core question. Paramount's worth less than some of these other big players, right?
Sure, on paper, at least.
So is it possible they're sitting on a gold mine that everyone's kind of overlooking?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And you got to think about what Paramount already has, right? It's not like they're starting from scratch.
Right.
We're talking about a studio, a massive library of, iconic films, TV shows, franchises like Star Trek, Mission Impossible. Those are huge.
Transformers.
Yeah, Transformers, massive. And don't forget, they have a major broadcast network, CBS. That still reaches a ton of people.
I was reading this article. They compared Paramount's library to a treasure chest.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
Full of ideas just waiting to be, dusted off and reintroduced.
Reboots, sequels, spin-offs, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. The possibilities are kind of endless. And then there's Paramount Plus, their streaming service. It's been growing, right?
Yeah, it's steadily gaining subscribers.
So with the right content and the tech boost from, maybe Oracle, it could be a real player in the streaming wars.
It could, for sure. So you've got a studio, a strong foundation, tons of content, a streaming platform that's on the rise.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what's holding them back? Why does Wall Street seem to think they're worth less than, say, a Disney or a Netflix?
Yeah, why is that?
Part of it, I think, is just perception. Paramount's had some, ups and downs over the years. Some analysts might see them as like an old school studio trying to play catch up.
So it's an image problem. Like they haven't convinced the market that they can really make the leap into the future of entertainment.
Could be. But what's interesting is this merger, this potential merger with Skydance and the Oracle connection, it's changing the conversation. Suddenly, it's not about a studio clinging to the past. It's about, embracing new tech, getting ready for a new era.
So could this be the thing that unlocks Paramount's true potential? Like the moment Wall Street finally realizes, hey, these guys are serious.
It's possible.
Yeah.
If they can actually do it, Make the merger work, use the tech effectively, deal with the regulators and all that.
Right. There's a lot of ifs there.
Yeah. But if they pull it off, there's a real chance they could see some huge growth in the next few years. They could be a major force.
But, and this is a big but, what if it doesn't work? What if things go south?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a downside.
Big time.
Integration with Skydance goes bad. Oracle partnership doesn't deliver. Regulators throw up roadblocks. That could be, pretty disastrous.
So it's a high-stakes gamble for Paramount. They're all in on this tech-powered future. It could make them or break them. No rusher.
Exactly. It's a really interesting story, and it affects the whole industry. If this tech-driven approach works, you might see other studios doing the same thing. Teaming up with tech companies, changing how Hollywood works.
And what about the creative side of things? We talked about the risk of relying too much on data and algorithms.
Right.
Could all this tech stuff actually end up hurting creativity?
It's a legitimate concern, yeah. I think it comes down to balance. Data, tech, those can be great tools, powerful tools. But you don't want them to overshadow the human element. The best stories, they connect with us on an emotional level. They make us think, they make us feel something real. That's what matters.
Seems like we're at a crossroads.
In a way, yeah.
One path leads to a future where tech helps us tell better stories, creates new ways to connect, new ways to be entertained. The other path, it's more like, algorithms decide what we watch, how we feel. That's kind of scary.